All right, on this episode of Carpooling with Ben, I am picking up Brian and Amanda from Cat Country 98.1. Here they are. Come on in, guys. Hi, guys. Come on in.
Wait a minute. This is an Uber. You're not my guy, Enrique. What
sorry.
the heck is going on here?
Why'd you get in? I don't look like the photo?
No.
First things first, I do want to say this. Amanda and I drew straws to see who would get to sit in front with you.
Okay.
And clearly she lost.
Yeah, absolutely. So sorry.
But you're welcome.
Thank you. No, I cleaned the car. I cleaned out the back seat so you could have a nice and...
I'd like to put the Cardis on my lap. But
you can hang out with them.
Taped down for some reason.
So it's product placement. You gotta kind of just roll with it.
We know a little something about that, my friend.
Well, hey, there it is. There it is. So how long have you guys been, I mean, people may not realize this, but you've been on Cat Country for a while now. How many years have you been on the station in total?
I've been with the station since an intern in 2008, but Brian and I have been working together full-time since 2010. So about 6 years now.
And I started on the show actually doing traffic. There was another host in place at that time, and that was in 2009. So full-time since 2010.
All right.
Yep.
So over that time, how do you like working with each other? Everything still,
I'm not going to let her answer that.
All right.
Brian, you want to go first?
Brian,
I will go first.
Brian, do you want to be part of the editing of this and like where we can mute things out?
Absolutely. I will say this. I have never had a little sister in my life, and I'm saying this with all sincerity. I really do feel like I have one with Amanda, and the most important part of this job is liking each other, getting along, and having the same vision for what you want to do on a show. And I've been lucky enough to be blessed to work with this lovely young woman right here, and it's been one of the best experiences in my career life.
Now you expect me to go after that?
That's it, it's
now
like...
you're telling everyone what a jackass I am.
Be something else. No, we truly do have a lot of fun together. And whenever we're not together, everyone's always asking me, where's Brian? I'm like, we do separate sometimes. It's not often.
Amanda needs the break. That's what I often say when they ask me that question.
So what do you do outside of the station? What do you do after work? What is life like with Brian?
I avoid all human contact, basically. And it's funny, a lot of people don't get this. They don't understand that I am a socially awkward and very shy guy because of what I do for a living. But I really am kind of a quiet and private person. And it's really true when I say that we honestly live and breathe this show 24 hours a day. And it is just this constant thing where we're in a search for relatable material and content. And that's how I spend the vast majority of my life. Oh yeah, I also have a family and spend some time with them. I have my wife Carla and my stepson Jonathan. But other than that, it's really all Cat Country all the time. I gotta be honest with you.
There is one thing he forgot though.
What's that?
Napping.
Oh, that's...
Yes, we nap separately.
And an occasional cocktail? Never hurt anybody?
Definitely.
How long is your nap, Brian? How long is the...
That varies. I would say ideally during the week, 90 minutes to 2 hours. What about you, Mandy?
Same, at least 2 hours. So it's a little more than a nap, actually.
Now, you see, that's my kind of a nap.
Yeah.
I'm okay with a 2-hour nap. For Susan, though, she thinks it's like she's 5 minutes in, ready to go, like fully recharged. She's like rapid charge. I am slow trickle.
Well, see, the weird thing with us is, you get up at 3:30 or 4 in the morning, and if you want to have any ability to spend time with a spouse or with a child, you have to kind of refresh yourself for multiple hours in the middle of the day. Otherwise, I'd be going to bed at 7 or 8 o'clock, and you're not going to be able to spend any time with your loved ones.
Right. All right, so Amanda.
Yes.
You took this gig right out of college.
Yes.
This was actually part of your internship, so this was college working for you. What was it like going from full-time student to full-time employee transition? No real summer off, no 1 year travel through Europe with a backpack kind of thing.
It's definitely an adjustment.
Yeah.
It's funny because senior year of college, I felt like I had a lot of work with all of my classes. Some people say, they coast their senior year. So I went from a lot of working to a lot of hours. So I guess in that aspect, that wasn't too hard of a change. But looking back now, I'm like, I really had it so much easier in college.
She went straight from getting her diploma to putting on the Jake the Cat suit.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Money well spent on that education, ladies and gentlemen.
But it is. I mean, there's a lot of times we don't have our weekends, but or our evenings, whereas, you know, in college or as a student you did. But it's life. That's work.
Right.
You know, we're very blessed to have the job that we do.
So before you were here, Brian, you've done a variety of jobs, but one of your most, you know, one of the most touching jobs for you, and one of the most, you know, your personal favorite, I would venture to guess, was when you worked out in California with a very, very well-known, unfortunately no longer with us, comedian.
This is Ben's roundabout way of saying that I peaked in my 20s, and you're absolutely correct, sir, from a career perspective. It first started when I was in college. I did some writing for Jay Leno. I did monologue material on a freelance basis when he was filling in for Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show, and that led eventually, a few steps along the way, to a partnership with Phil Hartman, who was in his last season at Saturday Night Live at that time and was getting his own NBC primetime variety show called The Phil Show. So he hired my brother and I was 23 at the time, and the show never ended up happening, even though we worked on it for a year. But we formed a friendship and a bond and a working partnership that continued until his tragic passing 6 years later. So yeah, that was some of the best times of my life and some of the darkest as well. But as time has passed and I've processed everything, I realize just how lucky and how blessed I was to have that opportunity, because this guy, not only the most talented person I've ever met in my life, my brother will vouch for this as well, outside of Amanda Leonardo, was also one of the sweetest, kindest, and nicest guys. And if not for him, I would have nothing that I have. But because I worked for him, he spoiled me so much that when I tried to stay in Hollywood beyond that, I said, boy, there's a lot of arrogant jerks out here. Yeah. And I got really homesick really quickly, and that's what eventually got me back here.
Professionally, and because that's the only way that I ever watched and observed him was when he was working. He seemed to be one of the masters of timing, like with delivery of a line, a facial expression. He was just, I love news radio. I loved it when he was in that show, and even on SNL and everything else he did. Was that something that he was working on? Was he actively thinking about it? Was that just natural for him?
It came so natural to him, and as a writer, my perspective was always this whenever I would write material for people, and that's really all over the map. There are people who, you hear something inside your head, you have a vision of it, and they take it and they destroy it. There are other people who execute it exactly in the way that you want it to be executed. And then there is the rare talent like Phil Hartman, who take whatever you are doing and make it so much better. The only other person that I've ever encountered and been lucky enough to work with who did the same was Will Ferrell. And you don't mind if they don't stick to the page, if they riff and they make it their own, because they're just making everything and everybody look better.
That's so awesome. I mean, it's such a cool like connection. People don't realize how much of the rest of the world, whether it be entertainment, whether it be just, you know, anything that's out there, is connected to Rhode Island. I mean, you worked with a comedic legend. Oh, absolutely. And, you know, here you are in the great little state of Rhode Island, and I mean,
now I get up at 4 and go to South Providence.
It's a beautiful time. We're driving through South Providence. It's a lovely area over here. Lovely area. So let's get back to the country music side of things. I'm a country music fan. I've enjoyed country music for many years.
You were at one of our shows playing recently.
I did. I was on. I got to share part of the stage with Big and Rich.
Yes.
Well, beforehand, and they kind of kept me away because of restraining order stuff. But what have you found most interesting in your 6 years in country radio?
Amanda, I'll let you take this one first.
That's a great question. Well, I mean, I came into the programming side of radio not knowing a thing. I had no idea what to expect. I had originally started out as an intern in promotions, and while some of that carried over, I didn't realize all of the work that truly goes into being a personality, especially on a morning show, and it's been so much fun. We get to work with different artists that have been really cool. We always get asked, oh, who's your favorite? Honestly, so many of them are great.
Yeah.
It's
One of them wrote on your dress once.
Oh, Danny Koki from American Idol. He did. They made me give him my number, and he got nervous and accidentally wrote on my dress with a Sharpie.
Don't you love being remembered for the one thing you don't want to be remembered for?
Great.
It was all over. Well, you had it all over social media. I mean, it was all over Facebook at the time. I can't believe it. I mean, it was great. That was a great time.
Well, that's another thing. You have to really put yourself out there. You have to share your life with all of Southern New England that's listening. But I'll say it's totally opened me up. I used to be such a shy person. Not anymore. I mean, put us on a stage and we can introduce Kenny Chesney in front of thousands of people. So that has really changed my life, to be honest.
And we can get booed, or at least I can.
That happens. Gotta have tough skin.
What have been some of your favorite events that you've worked on? You've done a lot of events with, whether it be, station events where you're doing bowling or, what was it, Bowl with Cole?
Yes.
But you've also done a lot of charity and outreach events. What are some of your favorite ones to get involved with throughout the year?
I'll start. My favorite thing, and we'll get to charity in just a second. A lot of artists have these things called meet and greets, Ben, where, some of the listeners and some of the people in the media can go and hang out with the artists and take photos and have a moment and all that stuff. The Zac Brown Band has done a thing in the past. They've made it their own. It's called an eat and greet, in which there are no photos. You don't really talk to them all that much. They just cook you a meal and serve it to you. That has been my favorite
Well, there you go.
of everything that we've done. Anytime I can get a good meal out of anything, thank you very much, and I'm left alone, you got it, buddy.
And let's face it, it's a Zac Brown Band, so they're not exactly using the low calorie, low sodium stuff. I'm sure they're using.
Use that hairnet on Zach's beard.
Flip it over.
In terms of the charitable stuff, personally, and I think Amanda is going to agree on this, my wife Carla works for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and she is in charge of the Man and Woman of the Year campaign. And back in 2014, Amanda ultimately ended up being the Woman of the Year, thanks to our listeners and our following, raised over $100,000 by herself.
Wow.
And to be able to she did have help, I will say that.
Had a campaign.
But I mean, the amount of work that this girl put into this for a cause that we feel so strongly about, it's one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. And I just felt like the whole station won that night, and I couldn't have been more proud of her. It was just fantastic.
It's a really cool setup because it's about 10 weeks where you have a bunch of people they are just super focused on raising money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, which is great.
And not only that, the way the industry rallied around us, the likes of artists of David Nail and Josh Thompson putting on shows to help Amanda, not even expecting a penny. It was just incredible.
That's so awesome. Amanda?
I was going to say the same. I mean, there will never be another year like that in my life. That was just so amazing. Recommend anyone to actually run because it is so rewarding. I think my favorite part was meeting all the survivors, all the people who have truly benefited from LLS and charities like that. That was the coolest and definitely a huge motivator because, you know what, let's face it, raising money for charity is not easy. Times are tough for some people and, people work hard for their money. It can be a difficult thing to do, but it is just so rewarding. When you see someone donated to your campaign, it's like, yes, I don't care if it's 5 cents. It is the best feeling in the world that someone out there is helping your campaign and helping to raise money for such a great cause.
And so I don't catch a baiting at home, if you would like to run for Man and Woman of the Year or Student of the Year, carlapoet@gmail.com. That is CarlaPoet@gmail.com.
I figured out how to put graphics. I spent all summer watching YouTube videos on how to make graphics for Final Cut Pro.
It's the summer of Ben.
There you go.
Like the summer of George.
It was a good time. It was a good time. What are you looking forward to this upcoming? We're in October. It's the fall. There's fallish events. The leaves are starting to change color. What are you looking forward to? What's your favorite fall event to do?
Ooh, favorite fall event. There's a lot of walks and different fundraisers again. That's huge in the fall time, which of course is a very rewarding thing to do. Zac Brown isn't coming around with their eat and greet this fall, so Bri, you have a different answer?
Come on over, I'll make you pancakes.
Yeah.
I walk around and I smash my neighbor's pumpkins.
Do you?
It's nice. And dodges the door on Halloween.
Oh my God.
That's what Brian does.
It's one of my least favorite holidays of all time.
Yes.
I get to the point in Halloween where it's some kid at some point is going to win the motherlode. I'll buy 3 or 4 bags of candy, put it all in a bowl.
Mm-hmm.
When I get to the point where it's like, all right, I don't feel like getting up anymore, I just open the door and I look and I say, congratulations, kid, you win. Boom, lights off, I'm out.
I
Done.
carry an entire pastrami. That's how we do it in the Mulhern household.
Yummy.
just give it off as a slice.
Carving station.
There you go, absolutely.
Here you go, Harry Potter.
Absolutely.
You might want to get that cholesterol checked out.
Do you dress up when you answer the door, Brian?
No, I go all natural.
Oh,
No.
Covered in pastrami.
those lucky kids.
Quite the scene.
It's like
I said,
it's a Lady Gaga dress on pastrami.
I hate the holiday. I'm trying to dissuade people from coming.
You just absorb it into your skin too. You emanate pastrami for weeks. It's
I can't
great.
believe it. Put it on all of my postcards.
Dogs follow you. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. So, what are some of your favorite things to do around Rhode Island? I mean, we got a lot of great restaurants. You have a favorite restaurant you like to frequent with Carla or with Matt?
See, we like to eat, so that's a hard question. I don't know if I have.
It doesn't have to be Rhode Island either. It can be nearby Massachusetts.
Yes. I mean,
And
I
please
love.
don't say the Olive Garden.
I wasn't going to go with that.
Thank you.
One of our favorite things, hibachi. Oh my gosh.
Really?
There's so many in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. We like to sample different ones to
Okay,
see which
all right.
ones we like the best.
Okay.
But of course, I mean, any restaurant up the hill too, you cannot go wrong. I
I
mean,
would say for me, and this is a local staple, and it's seasonal, the Rocky Point Clam Shack is something that we've discovered within the last year or so. And also, this place changed my life. I was on vacation a couple of weeks back. Have you been to Boneheads in West Warwick?
No, I haven't. It's right near the Arctic Theater, though, and I actually met with the owner recently, the guy who owns the place, and it was early morning. It was way too early for wings, but that is on the to-do list. The next time we have a date night, we are
I'm
going
a big
down.
Van Halen fan, and they have an Eddie Van Halen booth there.
Really?
And aside from that, the wings, I just ate like an absolute bleep hole. I don't know how you're going to handle that.
Oh, it's
It was unbelievable. If you want to go a little bit more Rhode Island and a little higher end, Wright's Farm is a staple for the
I
most
love
part.
Wright's.
And
I
right up the street.
love Wright's Farm.
And also, I'll give a plug to a couple of places that we go to all the time. Tavern on Main in Chepachet and Bella in the Warrenville area.
Okay.
Some places we like.
So you're covering the northern part of the
I'm
state.
telling people where I'm having my meals.
Yeah.
Like I said, I like to be left alone, and
yeah.
look what I've done. Oh, tortilla flats. There's another good one.
There you go.
What about cellos? I know Brian and I both love their honey mustard.
Oh my
It's a
God.
big
I
one.
buy that by the bottle.
Mhm.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Same.
And drink it right out of the bottle. I don't even put it on salad.
That's one of the funny things is we've got so many great small restaurants, unique restaurants around here that when Sue's family comes in from out of town, they're like, this is the dressing they serve at just one restaurant.
Yep.
Yes, it is, and I
Yep.
have it bottled here, or it's the sauce, or it's it's so great, or Dell's.
Yum.
I mean, that's just such a great. Apparently, there is one Dell's in Las Vegas.
Is that right?
I've been told
Wow.
there is one Dell's in Las Vegas, but it's unclear if they use a straw out there, which is just a cardinal
wrong.
sin.
Blasphemy.
It's huge.
And it's a Dell's Casino.
It's absolutely you win lemons. So they just pour out. It's the slush comes out of the fun there. So Brian, I realize that we're recording this on the heels of an epic collapse.
I know where you're going.
I feel the same way. Hey,
Why?
listen, I got buddies of mine that are in town this week that they had talked me into, putting serious cash down for tickets because they were only in town for this week if the playoffs went, but they didn't.
Yeah, those Red Sox, I'll tell you what. And here's the funny thing. For as much as it stings when they don't win in the playoffs, I have to admit, because I've been a diehard Red Sox fan since 1975, ever since we've won the championships, it doesn't sting for nearly as long. And if you are young enough to not remember Bill Buckner in 1986, when I tell you I was under my bed for a full calendar year, I'm not even kidding. I mean, it was just so god-awful. But the thing I'll say about this particular team, all the talent in the world, very streaky, Jekyll and Hyde all year long.
Yeah.
And I hate to say this if John Farrell happens to be tuned in, I think he is the biggest problem. And we just found out yesterday that he's coming back. And I compared it to this. Sometimes when you're a kid, mom and dad sit the children down and they say, Mommy and Daddy, it's not that we don't love each other, but we're getting a divorce. And that's what I felt like yesterday, except it was more like Dave Dombrowski being Daddy and John Farrell being Mommy, and they told the kids we're staying together. And we're like, why? Is there anything we can do
We're getting
to prevent this?
We're getting a divorce from another championship right now, for the time being. I mean, maybe.
People who don't like baseball, it was just so clear to me, and I love Terry Francona, how much he was running circles from a managerial perspective around John Farrell.
Oh, yeah.
And his team was so ready to play, half the payroll, so many injuries, and it was just a cakewalk for them. And kudos to Terry, and good luck to Mike Napoli and Andrew Miller and all of the other people that the Red Sox let walk who beat us.
So what do you think is going to happen as far as what do you see for a championship? What do you think a World Series is going to look like this year?
I think Toronto is under a full head of steam thanks to the Red Sox and the last week of the season and how they look. So I think they are going to the World Series, and it is my wish for all of those frustrated Cubs fans. And you know what? This is also a revenge thing for me. We've got Theo Epstein there. We've got Hoyer, and we have John Lester, who never should have been allowed to walk away, and John Lackey and David Ross and Anthony Rizzo, who was a former prospect. I would just love to see them win, not only because they haven't won since 1908, but just to stick it to this ownership for all of the mistakes that they've made, especially this year. Now that I'm feeling bitter today.
You had to bring up the Red Sox.
Well, let me take it to a more happier memory.
Please.
Brian, you were part of was it one of the first committees for the Pawtucket Red Sox Hall of Fame?
The inaugural committee for the Paw Sox Hall of Fame, we did have the first induction this past season, as a matter of fact. And boy, oh boy, what a thrill and what an honor for me, because ever since I was a little kid, when Ben Mondor, that first season that he bought the Paw Sox, and McCoy was an absolute mess. And I remember going to games with my family, and Ben would walk from seat to seat and talk to every individual family. And my wife, Carla, her grandfather was the longtime sports editor of the Providence Journal, Gene Bonacorsi.
Wow.
So there's a big connection with that organization between our families. And I mean, over the years, I've become so close with those guys. So to get the opportunity to be asked to do that, I felt like a 10-year-old. I was so excited, and it was a great thing to be a part of.
McCoy Stadium is a great park, and it's a great venue that we have here, for games in the summertime. I mean, that's a lot of fun to go there with your family, with your friends.
You can't
just no. I mean, it's and I always tell people when they ask if they're from out of town, it's for the price of parking at a Fenway game. You can take a family of 4. Everybody gets a hot dog. Everybody, enjoys, some kind of an attraction or some kind of feature there.
Right.
And it only takes you 15 minutes to get home afterwards. It's great.
I know.
It's a wonderful thing. Amanda, what do you like to do for your entertainment outside of...
Well, it's funny. You just mentioned the Paw Sox, and I actually took my 3 nieces, all under the ages of 5, to a game this year with my husband and some friends, and we had the best time. I came in the next morning telling Brian, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. It was so cool to see it through a child's eyes. It was so much fun. They do so many different activities for the kids. Really, really would recommend that. But I actually have quite a few nieces and nephews, so love to spend time with them as much as I can.
Yeah.
Just get such a kick out of them. We play games together, different activities. I'm a young kid at heart, and then on the flip side, I'm actually an old soul, as Brian can attest. I like to scrapbook and knit and things of that nature.
That's okay.
Couponing.
That's it.
I'm a wild one,
You're crazy.
Amanda has been known to go to a 7 p.m. showing of any film at the Showcase Cinemas and fall asleep a half hour in.
Yep.
That's my kind of... Susan and I just went to our first movie together ever.
Yeah.
And it took copious amounts of coffee so I could stay awake. And it was... Because I'm the same way. I don't care if it's the middle of the day. You put me in those comfy seats at there.
Get your sleep apnea mask on.
Gone. Absolutely. Bring it all. Just show up in your PJs. It's all good. It's all well. So, well, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. And if you want more information about Cat Country 98.1, or even if you want to volunteer or become part of the LLS Men or Women of the Year campaign, just head over to benjamindecastro.com or the YouTube channel or the Facebook page, or email Brian directly. Go visit him at his house.
Oh,
He'll knock on the door. Absolutely.
What have I done?
Oh.
You're doing fine, sweetie. Take care.